So it's a color-changing shirt and super cool.
To look a little bit slimmer. This is the light one.
And widened into a skirt with pleats at the side seam.
The 1980s were marked by bold fashion, power suits, punk glam, and neon overload. But not every trend aged well. Some iconic looks turned into unforgettable disasters, from crimped hair chaos to outrageous shoulder pads. These styles attempted to make a statement, but fell short. Join us as we delve into 25 innovative fashion trends from the 1980s that failed miserably. In the early 1980s, parachute pants made a dramatic entrance into pop culture, thanks largely to the breakdancing craze. These pants were crafted from ripstop nylon, often featuring zippers, making them both stylish and functional for rapid movement. Designed to reduce friction during spins and slides, they were practical for dancers, but baffling for everyday fashion.
That Johnny wears in the beach fight scene in the original 1984 Karate Kid movie.
The swishing sound, tight fit, and shiny texture made them a sensory overload in casual settings. While MC Hammer and others popularized similar styles, the general public struggled to replicate them. By the mid-80s, the trend quickly plummeted, considered more costume than clothing. Their brief spotlight now serves as a quirky footnote in the era's experimental fashion archives. After all that swooshing fabric and breakdance flair, what could scream louder than parachute pants? Could it be the blinding brilliance of neon everything? If the 1980s had a visual volume knob, neon fashion cranked it to the max. Highlighters had nothing on the fluorescent greens, electric pinks, and shocking yellows that dominated wardrobes, from tracksuits and leg warmers to scrunchies and sunglasses. Inspired by fitness trends and club culture, these colors screamed for attention and embodied youthful rebellion.
My infamous necklace, and a very funny thing about this necklace is it was H&M and I got it for $3.99 and cost per wear is literally one.
Yet their brightness often clashed with skin tones, making styling a nightmare. Neon looked great under blacklight but absurd in daylight, and the lack of versatility meant the fad fizzled fast. What began as a bold, energetic movement turned into a fashion faux pas, relegated to novelty and nostalgia. Today, neon's overexposure serves as a cautionary tale for those tempted by too much trend at once. Nothing screamed power dressing in the 80s like oversized shoulder pads. Originally meant to give women a strong, authoritative silhouette in the workplace, the pads quickly grew to absurd proportions. Blazers, dresses, and even t-shirts were stuffed with foam to create broad, squared-off shoulders that often overpowered the rest of the outfit. While icons like Joan Collins and Grace Jones pulled it off with flair, the look did few favors for the average wearer. It distorted natural body shapes, making people appear boxy and stiff.
After all, the way we look exerts so much influence on the way we feel, and on the way other people feel about us, that it really is very important.
By the end of the decade, fashion had shifted toward more natural silhouettes, and extreme shoulder pads had become a relic of an overly ambitious era that confused power with padding. Crimped hair surged into popularity as one of the boldest hair trends of the 80s, with its zigzag texture offering a dramatic alternative to traditional styles. Using heated crimping irons, people, especially teens, transformed sleek strands into voluminous, electrified waves. The style symbolized fun and rebellion.
I did paint my face because I was always told, well, you can't do that. That's just so corny. And I thought, no, that's kind of like a big F you. I'm going to do it.
Often paired with teased bangs and loud makeup. Celebrities like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper embraced it, turning heads on stage and screen. However, crimped hair came at a cost: excessive heat damage, frizz, and hours of prep time. The unnatural look quickly became dated as the 90s welcomed smoother, more polished hairdos. Once a playful symbol of youth, crimped hair is now mostly remembered as a follicular fad best left in yearbooks and retro parties. If crimping wasn't enough texture for you, did mall bangs take the volume wars to a whole new level? There was a time when your hairstyle practically needed scaffolding. Enter mall bangs, also known as claw bangs. This towering hairdo required an arsenal of hairspray and a curling iron to sculpt the fringe into a stiff, claw-like arch. Popular among teenage girls in suburban malls across America, it became a defining feature of the mall rat aesthetic.
And then it's kicking back. So now she'll get to enjoy this longer curtainy fringe accessory to the haircut. So on the other side of that,
These bangs were so high and shellacked that they could practically deflect wind. Inspired by pop icons like Tiffany and members of glam rock bands, the look attempted to blend volume with rebellion. However, its impracticality and unnatural structure didn't age well. As grunge and minimalism rolled in during the 90s, mall bangs quickly became outdated and mocked, leaving behind only yearbook regrets. Spandex bodysuits made a significant impact on the 1980s fashion scene, thanks in part to the aerobics and fitness boom championed by Jane Fonda. Skin-tight and shiny, these suits clung to the body like a second skin, often worn in bold colors and paired with leg warmers or belts. Designed for flexibility and movement, they quickly jumped from gyms to streetwear.
I love this new design and I have it in a second color. So I'm going to change, and meanwhile you can check out the discount code I have for Amarisi in the description text.
Though not everyone appreciated the visual. While ideal for dance or exercise, the revealing nature and unforgiving fabric highlighted every contour, often leaving wearers feeling overexposed. Outside of workout studios, bodysuits raised eyebrows and concerns about comfort. Eventually, the fashion world moved on to more versatile and forgiving attire. Today, spandex bodysuits serve more as costume party staples than serious fashion statements. No accessory screamed edgy glamour in the 80s quite like fingerless lace gloves. Popularized by Madonna's punk princess image, these gloves aim to blend Victorian elegance with street-style rebellion. Worn during concerts, parties, and even weddings, they gave wearers a touch of theatrical flair without sacrificing functionality. However, outside of pop stars and music videos, the trend struggled to find everyday practicality. The lace tore easily, offered no warmth, and often clashed with the rest of an outfit. What started as a symbol of bold femininity became overused and kitschy. By the early 90s, fingerless lace gloves were more likely to be found in bargain bins or costume shops than high-street fashion stores. When gloves got lacy and dramatic, did balloon pants bring the puff to the party, or just confusion? Balloon pants were a radical response to the 80s obsession with exaggerated silhouettes. These ultra-baggy trousers were cinched tightly at the waist and ankles, causing the fabric in between to puff out like a balloon, hence the name. Inspired in part by harem pants and MC Hammer's infamous wardrobe, balloon pants were meant to be edgy and comfortable.
Once it's gone through the entire casing, make sure it's not twisted in there and overlap the ends 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch.
Unfortunately, they ended up making most wearers look like walking marshmallows. The odd proportions distorted body shapes, and the pants proved tricky to style without veering into costume territory. Despite a brief moment of popularity in dance and street fashion circles, balloon pants collapsed under their excess. By the next decade, they were considered a major fashion misstep, oversized and overhyped. Tiny trinkets once dangled proudly from the necks of countless 80s kids, all thanks to the rise of plastic charm necklaces. These colorful chains, covered in miniature plastic charms, everything from telephones and sneakers to sunglasses, were essentially wearable toy collections. They were especially popular among preteens, who traded and personalized them like currency. While they were fun and expressive, their appeal faded fast as wearers aged. The plastic easily broke, the colors faded, and the necklaces clashed with nearly every outfit.
We also have on this one, the rocking horse, which I think is really cute.
What began as a quirky collectible turned into clutter. By the early 90s, the trend had lost its charm, literally. The necklaces are now nostalgic relics, emblematic of a childhood fad that never quite matured into timeless fashion. Changing color with body heat seemed like magic in fabric form, and that's exactly what hypercolor shirts promised in the late 80s. Made with thermochromic dye, these shirts shifted hue when touched or warmed, giving wearers a chameleon-like effect. The idea was revolutionary. and initial reactions were enthusiastic.
Benefit about this shirt though is, I'll be honest with you, I've seen guys wear these back in the day, and women would walk up to the guys and touch them and blow on their shirts and stuff, so it's really cool.
However, the novelty wore off quickly. Hypercolor shirts were notorious for reacting most visibly to sweat, often revealing embarrassing underarm splotches. Worse still, the color-changing effect faded after a few washes, rendering the shirts just plain and overpriced. What started as a cutting-edge fashion experiment turned into a laundry day disappointment. They flamed out just as fast as they flared up, becoming one of the decade's most short-lived gimmicks. At first glance, jelly shoes looked like candy for your feet, bright, translucent, and often glitter-infused. Introduced in the early 1980s, these shoes were made entirely from PVC plastic and were inexpensive, waterproof, and available in a wide range of colors. Kids especially loved them for their playful vibe, but beneath the cute exterior lay a world of discomfort. They caused blisters, made feet sweat excessively, and often emitted a strong plastic smell. The material degraded quickly, and they offered almost no arch support. Despite brief resurgences over the years, jelly shoes never managed to establish a lasting presence in the adult fashion market. Today, they're mostly remembered as painful fashion choices disguised as fun footwear, a reminder that style sometimes trumps sense. When footwear became a plastic playground, could two-tone denim keep up with the kitsch? Two-tone jeans were denim's bold attempt to spice up its image in the fashion-forward 1980s. These jeans featured contrasting panels, often dark and light washes stitched together vertically or diagonally, meant to create an eye-catching patchwork effect. The idea was to modernize a classic staple and introduce more drama to everyday wear. Unfortunately, the result often resembled a sewing mistake more than a style statement. The sharp color contrasts rarely flattered the body.
Like, I have long legs, short torso, so they're a little shorter on me than Joanne.
Yeah, but you know, if you were wearing the regular length, they'd be cute too, right? And Joanne, how tall are you, darling?
Making outfits appear disjointed. While they found a brief home in music videos and youth streetwear, most consumers quickly favored simpler, more versatile denim. As trends leaned toward minimalism in the 90s, two-tone jeans quietly disappeared from racks, leaving behind a legacy of denim confusion. Of all the strange hair choices to emerge from the 1980s, the rat tail haircut arguably caused the most head-scratching. This bizarre style involved growing a single thin strand of hair at the nape of the neck, while the rest of the head remained short or neatly trimmed. Popular among rebellious teens and inspired in part by punk and Jedi influences, it was meant to stand out, but often for the wrong reasons. Rat tails quickly became associated with poor grooming and awkward aesthetics.
Cute tribal oriental vibes, and just like that, dreams came true. She loves it so much.
Parents hated them, schools banned them, and job interviews dreaded them. By the early 90s, the rat tail had become the punchline of countless jokes, eventually snipped out of existence by changing tastes and common sense. Crop tops weren't always limited to women's fashion. In the 80s, men's crop tops briefly attempted to redefine masculinity. Exposing the midriff in tank or t-shirt form, these tops were worn by athletes, pop stars, and daring trendsetters. Think Prince or early workout videos. The intention was to fuse athleticism with bold self-expression, often emphasizing toned abs.
Roll the sleeves up. And that's it. That's my crop.
However, the look never gained mass appeal among mainstream men. Cultural discomfort around exposed male torsos, combined with the top's impracticality outside gyms, doomed the trend. As fashion leaned back into full-length shirts by the early 90s, men's crop tops vanished from retail racks. Today, they survive mostly in nostalgic film stills or ironic fashion revivals rather than serious wardrobes. Faux leather bomber jackets tried to blend affordability with rugged flair, mimicking the classic aviator look at a fraction of the price. Marketed to teens and young adults, these jackets were often lined with fleece or faux shearling and featured wide lapels, oversized fits, and sometimes even faux patches. Unfortunately, they looked better on hangers than on actual people.
And if you've never tried Dennis's faux leather, this is the time to do it. This feels like lamb's leather.
The synthetic materials quickly cracked, peeled, and lost their shape after just a few wears, giving wearers a worn-out look without charm. They also lacked the warmth and durability of real leather, making them more costume than clothing. By the time grunge and minimalist styles emerged in the 1990s, faux leather bombers had largely been forgotten and were considered outdated. Stirrup pants galloped into fashion in the 1980s with an athletic meets everyday wear promise that ultimately tripped over its design. Inspired by equestrian gear, these leggings featured elastic straps that hooked under the foot to keep them taut. While they offered a smooth silhouette and stayed in place, they created awkward bunching at the ankles and looked odd when worn without the right footwear. Often paired with oversized sweaters or tunics, stirrup pants were intended to be both chic and comfortable. However, achieving this look proved difficult for most body types. Eventually, they became associated more with middle school embarrassments than high fashion. Their stretch was impressive, but their staying power in wardrobes wasn't. Nothing says 80s rebellion quite like the side ponytail, a hairstyle that defied symmetry with unapologetic flair. Often perched high on one side of the head, secured with a scrunchie in neon or glitter, the look was a go-to for teen girls looking to stand out. It was fun, quirky, and seemed effortlessly cool at first. But the longer it lasted, the more impractical it became. The uneven pull caused tension on the scalp, and the lopsided silhouette looked more cartoonish than stylish. While it had its moment in dance videos and mall hangouts, the side ponytail didn't transition well into the 90s. Today, it's mostly remembered as a retro party gag rather than a lasting mark of elegance or fashion. Bold was the beauty mantra of the 80s, and nothing screamed bold louder than eye makeup that stretched dramatically up to the eyebrows. With electric blue eyeshadow, metallics, or vivid pinks often applied in thick swaths, the look aimed to be edgy and futuristic. Paired with heavy eyeliner and bright blush, this trend blurred the line between runway and circus. Inspired by music icons like Boy George and Cyndi Lauper,
and just dust over the highlighter so that it blends into the eyeshadows you've already put on.
It flourished in club culture, but struggled in everyday settings. The overly theatrical effect lacked subtlety and clashed with most outfits, making it unsustainable as a mainstream style. As natural tones and minimalism gained popularity in the 90s, the heavy makeup-to-eyebrow look quickly faded into cosmetic infamy. If your earrings in the 80s didn't brush your shoulders, were you even fashionable? Oversized plastic hoop earrings, often neon or marbled, were a must-have accessory for anyone trying to channel high-energy glam. Cheap, lightweight, and widely available, they framed the face with exaggerated flair. But their size posed problems, tangling in hair, catching on clothes, and snapping easily under pressure. Many lacked backing support, causing them to droop or fall out. The plastic also lost its shine quickly and warped in the heat. Though they made bold statements in music videos and pop culture, their practical shortcomings rapidly became apparent. Eventually, sleeker, smaller, and more durable accessories replaced them, leaving giant plastic hoops as a loud relic of a loud era. When your accessories were big and bold, did a full-on swishy shell suit scream commitment or catastrophe? Shell suits were a synthetic explosion of noise, visually and literally. Made from shiny nylon or polyester, these matching tracksuit-style outfits came in wild color combinations with bold geometric patterns. They were often associated with athleticism, dance, or casual street style, and rose to prominence across the UK and US in the mid-80s. Unfortunately, they didn't breathe well, made a loud swishing sound with every movement, and looked more like parachute fabric than fashion. Shell suits became infamous for their unflattering fits and fire hazard materials.
Indoors, if at all possible. Okay,
I want to talk about Elise. Elise was founded in 1959 by...
especially those made from cheap synthetics. Though they symbolized a carefree, energetic vibe, their gaudiness and discomfort were impossible to ignore. By the early 90s, they were mercifully shelved and never truly revived. Embodying preppy privilege and Ivy League aspirations, the trend of draping sweaters over the shoulders, without actually wearing them, was all about image. Worn loosely tied across the chest or just hanging from the neck, the look screamed yacht club chic and often appeared in country club settings or teen dramas. Popularized by brands like Ralph Lauren and seen on characters in John Hughes films, it aimed to project effortlessness and affluence.
And it creates a little shawl. Number 8, take a brooch or an earring and pin the sleeves together. Number 9, I'm going to take this down.
Yet, it quickly became associated with smugness and style over substance. The sweater wasn't functional, it didn't keep you warm or add structure, and looked forced when worn outside its niche social bubble. As grunge and realism took hold in the 90s, the shoulder-draped sweater became a symbol of outdated snobbery. Step into any 80s fashion catalog and you'll be assaulted by a dizzying array of triangles, zigzags, and neon shapes. Geometric print overload was in full swing. Inspired by the Memphis design movement and fueled by MTV visuals, these bold prints invaded everything from jackets and leggings to blouses and suits. The patterns were intended to be energetic and postmodern.
Rich kind of terracotta-y tones put together and like lovely kind of rich painterly blues.
But more often they clashed wildly with one another. Without any balance or neutral tones, outfits looked chaotic and loud. While the designs screamed individuality, they were hard to mix and match, aging poorly as minimalism gained traction. Geometric overload became too much of a good thing, fading into irrelevance by the 90s and now reserved mostly for themed retro parties. When fashion was all shapes and angles, did ultra-short miniskirts bring things back into focus or raise eyebrows? In a decade defined by extremes, the 1980s took the miniskirt to ultra-short lengths, pushing modesty and mobility to the edge. These tiny skirts were often made of denim, spandex, or leather, paired with oversized tops to create a high-contrast silhouette. While intended to be empowering and daring, the practicality of these micro-minis was questionable. Sitting, walking, or bending without embarrassment was a near-impossible challenge.
Take 15 girls all wearing miniskirts and invite them to break a world record held by a college group in America.
And many schools and workplaces quickly banned them. Despite appearances by pop icons like Madonna flaunting the look, mainstream women found it too revealing for daily wear. As the 90s embraced grunge and more relaxed fashion, the ultra-short mini vanished from the spotlight, remembered more for wardrobe malfunctions than fashion milestones. Television cops and pop stars alike jumped on the pastel bandwagon in the 1980s, particularly after shows like Miami Vice glamorized the men's pastel suits. Baby blue, soft pink, mint green. These cotton or linen suits were meant to radiate cool, carefree confidence.
A critically endangered species today, and the whaling didn't stop until 1935. The bodice is lined with a black silk, and this was treated with metal salts.
Worn with t-shirts or loafers and often without socks, the look defined casual masculinity for a moment. However, the style was heavily location and personality dependent. What looked sleek on Don Johnson appeared awkward on everyday guys. The colors faded quickly, stained easily, and didn't translate well to colder climates or formal settings. As darker, structured menswear made a comeback in the 90s, pastel suits were left behind, symbolizing a brief flirtation with flamboyance that lacked lasting appeal. Long before the athleisure trend made loungewear chic, the 1980s attempted to make cotton sweats acceptable as daywear, but ultimately failed. These sweatshirts and matching sweatpants were worn outside the gym, into malls, diners, and even schools. The idea was rooted in comfort and a growing obsession with fitness, but the execution lacked polish. The baggy cuts, sagging knees, and cheap cotton fabrics often made wearers look sloppy rather than sporty.
I know a lot of people wanted different inseams, but this is not a huge launch. I mean, it was huge for me because I've never done something like this before, but
Colors faded after just a few washes, and sweat stains were all too visible. What was meant to be a relaxed style quickly veered into laziness. By the early 90s, the look had been relegated to couches and locker rooms, waiting decades before athleisure finally got it right.